All right. I want to give a bit of a channel and personal life and uncoiler update. And I don't want to put a whole lot of work and effort into making it organized. So that's that. If you want to watch, then watch. If you don't want to watch, then don't watch. The majority of subscribers to this channel are people, I believe, who subscribed in thinking that the channel was something that it's not. Namely, a Tesla video that I just re-uploaded from some random little corner of the internet and put it on YouTube so that people on YouTube could actually watch it. And yeah, so you see that subscriber number. It's not because of the quality of my channel. It's not because of the usefulness to the average person in subscribing to this channel. This channel really has been about me just finding things that I want to share with the world in order to help the world. I come from a background that was pretty fucking miserable. No matter how wonderful the rest of my life may be, I am dead certain that it is an impossibility for the beginning of my life, the first 33 years, to it is an impossibility, I believe, for the first 33 years to be worth going through in order to experience even just potentially a incredibly wonderful, impossibly good rest of the life. This life has not been worth living. It's been very stressful. Fortunately, I am in a place, and I have been for the last year and a half, and it's better now than it even was in the last year and a half. I am in a place where life is now worth living. Thank goodness. So anyway, I've had my share of misery, and the purpose of this channel was to help similarly struggling people who happen to come across similar problems that I'm having to solve, for which there isn't an adequate set of videos on YouTube. So I started out with helping people learn how to eat food out of dumpsters, what dumpsters to go in. I didn't do a great guide, but I helped people go to Trader Joe's, essentially. Now, industry practices have changed. The hammer fist of the state and the protectionist culture we have here has gotten further out of control, and now the dumpsters are even harder to get into. Carry a lockpick. Those are going to be the prime dumpsters. If you want to eat out of dumpsters. At the time, I didn't realize that people who didn't work could still eat. I thought that people had to earn their keep in this society. That is not true whatsoever. So I was really confused for so long. There have got to be other significantly demoralized people out there who are just struggling to hold on to their basic livelihoods. And I didn't see the stress and misery that I was experiencing anywhere. It's like, where are the people who are similarly struggling? And apparently their difficulties were taken away at the expense of people who pay taxes and people who hold on to savings, where their currency is deflated with this private bankster group that controls our currency, which Thomas Jefferson warned us about quite accurately, I believe. That basically we're effing doomed when we let private bankers control our currency. Anyway, so basically this channel is to help relieve struggling in the world. And so I upload my random videos. Now, in the last year or whatever, I haven't uploaded videos. And not only that, typically I haven't uploaded the videos that I've taken footage for. This is a combination of factors. One, it takes work to make the videos, and I'm fairly preoccupied with my stress in just getting my shit done. So it takes quite a bit of self-discipline to get me to actually sit down and complete piecing together footage to make a video. And so I don't always get around to that. So the majority of throughout the last quite a few years, the majority of my footage hasn't actually turned into videos. Even though it would be best if they were uploaded to the interwebs for particular people involved in those particular products or projects to witness and learn from, I believe. And then secondly, recently, I've had the fortunate development of an actual ambition to go into a simpler trade. Being involved in every trade under the sun is freaking stressful. It's not worth it. I do not recommend it. Please, if you're going to go into the trades, pick one, man. Pick one and go for it. But being a general handyman and being good at it, damn, that's hard. If you haven't had like life experience beforehand, maybe if you grew up in a household that was handy and you were exposed to this stuff for a long time as a kid, it could be fairly easy for you, but it's a lot of education to undergo. And if you're a total novice, it's gonna be freaking tough. So, definitely recommend a trade. I'm planning on going into roofing. And I would like, when I upload a video, to advertise my roofing panels. I'm very passionate about this. I've lost a lot of my life, my health, and stuff due to bad roofing. And currently, we have in this country, basically, we have horrible roofing, and we have some decent roofing, and good roofing is so rare. This is good roofing, a roof that you have completed, that is there, that will remain there, that you don't have to think about. It's off the books. It's not an expense to be considered. It's not a labor to be undertaken. It's there and it's permanent. That's one of the things I believe that our country needs. If we're going to be able to have the energy to devote to understanding how corrupt the powers that be are and to empowering ourselves to do something about it. Now, I believe the most important thing we can do in order to restore liberty in this country and restore understanding of some of the wisdom that our founders had when they created this country, coming from that difficult era, I believe that the most important thing we can do is to actually homeschool our kids or have them schooled by a caring, loving person in an environment that fosters their curiosity, that supports emotionally, positively their achievements in education. I think the best potential scenario for that is homeschool, but public school I think is horrible. I think it's demoralizing. I think it teaches our people to expect not to be treated with respect and consideration, among many other things. My understanding is that public school was designed by the oligarchs to make useful workers. And there are definitely positive aspects to it, but I think we can and have done way better and way more cost effectively. So I really care about our world and making it a happier place, and I think that restoring liberty in our culture is a huge part of that. But anyway, I've been postponing making videos and uploading them because I've been saving footage, and I've done a lot of projects in between my last upload that are some of them are fairly interesting. Just to maybe even random people, not just the people who happen to be involved in those projects. So that's cool. It's actually like subscriber-worthy content. Not that this channel deserves subscribership from the general population. So, in pursuit of this standing seam roofing, that is the prerequisite for my uploading significant amounts of footage, I have done a fair amount of work and I made some discoveries and I've had a number of setbacks. One of those setbacks is pretty major, and I'm going to talk about my foolishness now from behind the camera. Well, that's unfortunate. That's 18 minutes of me expressing ideas gone down the tube due to bad audio. Let's do this over again with less enthusiasm, because I already expressed my enthusiasm to you and it doesn't come as naturally this second time, but hopefully with more brevity and articulation. One thing I want to get out of the way for people who are a bit averse to metal roofing, let alone shiny metal roofing. Yes, it will get hot in sunny areas, but it's not really that big of a deal because it reflects 68% of the sun's rays, which is a lot more than other forms of roofing. Study shows that it is a cooler roof to have on your house. The ultimate cool roof type is actually clear anodized aluminum roof. It's very rare, but that's what it is. Secondly, it is 6 decibels louder. That is perceived as being twice as loud if measured underneath the roof deck than, like, I forget, a competing type of roofing. I believe it was asphalt shingles. But if your house is not like a garage, then you shouldn't be hearing all that much noise from the rain. And if you are hearing too much noise from the rain, you can add an extra layer of drywall along the ceiling. That is a pain in the butt. I understand that it might not work for your situation. That's out of the way. Let's get back to my crap. All right, so I bought this machine. I almost went broke buying it. I thought it was going to be the machine for me. I bought a sample of 304 stainless steel, bright annealed finish like this. And I had them ship it to this company, which ran it through their machine. The panel came out gorgeous. I guess I'll show it to you. This is my way of corrosion testing. It's kind of underneath this sappy tree in the dirt. But pretty even flange along the side, and came out great. Now that's a different alloy than this. This is an alloy that I can afford. It's called 430 stainless steel. It doesn't work hardened like that other stuff. And the hardness at the beginning is about the same. Now that panel I just showed you was 26 gauge. This is a little thicker. It's like 25.5 gauge. It's 0.020 inches thick. And so I figured with the work hardening taken into account, the difficulty that these rollers will have pulling the metal through and shaping it will be pretty similar, and probably actually harder for that 26 gauge than with this. This being the coil that's in the garage. So I thought it would work just fine for the coil that I have and for any 26 gauge 300 series stainless steel that I want to run through it. However, what I did not know, as I received that good looking functional panel that came out of this machine, is that that panel had a piece of plastic on the top and the bottom. And that piece of plastic significantly, majorly increases the coefficient of friction between the rollers and the piece of metal. And so it's easier for these rollers to give it a proper fold on that piece of metal. I thought it went through as a bare piece of metal. All I paid for when I purchased that sample of metal was a piece of metal. It didn't say that it was covered in plastic, and I did not purchase a piece of plastic. So I purchased this and almost went broke on this like $14,000 machine based on that discrepancy. And so far, with the samples that I've hand-fed into this machine, I have gotten horrific results. Completely unacceptable. Another thing I didn't know about this machine that they didn't tell me is that under ideal conditions, the maximum coil weight that this thing can pull from without damaging the assembly is 1,000 pounds. And that assumes under ideal conditions, which is a really soft coil. It might be 3003 H14 aluminum or copper, something soft that doesn't take a whole lot of force to pull through the rollers. The exact opposite of soft and easy and high capacity is stainless steel. So what's the capacity of this machine with stainless steel? What's the coil capacity that it can pull from without damaging itself appreciably? I don't know. They don't know. And it might be 300 or 500 pounds, which is completely different than this over 5,000 pound coil here. So I have to invent a machine. I don't know that this machine exists. I'm going to call it a pre-feeder. And so prior to actually feeding this machine and seeing whether or not it'll actually work with this coil under more proper conditions, I have to build this pre-feeder. So I'm waiting on that. Well, not really waiting. I have to wait for that or whatever. And there's another problem with this machine, and I'm not done yet after talking about this one. Only the bottom rollers are driven. And so you can't get a lot of friction. You could get twice the friction if both rollers were driven, but only the bottom ones are. So in any pair of rollers, only the bottom ones are going to be the ones delivering the friction. And that might make an inferior bend each time it goes through the roller. I'm not a real expert on that, but kind of guess that it might. And you need a lot of friction if you have something that's really shiny. And people like shiny. That's actually a major reason why I chose this coil, is I asked people which alloy they prefer. And by a slight margin, people preferred the 430 stainless steel look. Now, this is not an appropriate alloy for the outdoors according to architects. They won't put their license on it. I did call a corrosion engineer personally and ask him his personal opinion about my weather conditions, my environment, and whether or not on my roof slope 430 stainless steel would make sense. He said that he wouldn't stake his reputation on it, but his expectation was that it would be a material which would last a very, very long time, which is what I told him that I wanted. So it will probably work out. I have this as trim, and it's worked out for the last year, a little over a year, I guess. And I haven't seen any corrosion. And I've put this stuff in the dirt, like what the panel I showed you is. And I tried to find rust spots, and I didn't. So that's good. You'll see rust spots there. This actually fell over on the truck with Roadrunner Trucking, which is notorious, but they had the best prices, so we chose them, and they made it fall over. They managed to fail to transport that properly. So that's where the rust comes from, and it does wipe off. Rust, if it's stuck on stainless steel, is known to cause rust. But fortunately, even though this was outside for over a year, the rust that was added to it by that accident wasn't enough to cause additional rusting yet of that metal. Here's another problem with this type of machine. The individual and I think it's probably universal to these ones with adjustable widths. I wanted an adjustable width so I could buy like random excess coils and not have to bother to slit them down to an exact size to match a roofing roll forming machine. So that's why I was attracted to these adjustable width ones. But these stations, they're typically called stations when it's just a pair of rollers, and typically you'll have the axle tube go all the way across to the other opposing set of rollers, and that'll be considered a station. These aren't individually adjustable in height. They're only adjustable together. You best be able to adjust individual stations, and this does not have that capability. So for a lot of reasons, these cheaper roll formers aren't good and probably won't work, especially for me, who's being very ambitious about what I want to send through a roll former. I did talk to, over YouTube, a standing seam roofing guy in Europe somewhere, and he said that they don't use stainless because it destroys your body and it destroys your tools. And he didn't specify which tools, but it definitely includes these tools. Almost immediately, I received some scratching and damage to the roller dies that cost $5,500 a set. And I guess that's cheap. When I sent a panel of this non-work hardening 430 stainless steel through there. So, I mean, what would happen if I sent a work hardened 304 stainless steel standing seam panel like metal through here? How much would it mess up the rollers if it got stuck, if it didn't roll properly and there was excess that was scratching stuff up that was 3 times as hard, 2 or 3 times as hard as that stuff? It would be a disaster. So it's looking like, as I follow through with my ambition to roll stainless steel into roofing panels and save the world from the memory of having to do roof maintenance, or at least the smart world, while also providing a vastly superior price to what's on the market right now, which is a ripoff. In that process, I will probably have to do a lot of work. And instead of editing all the remaining footage, I'm just going to talk on the microphone a little bit about what the footage kind of said. And that is, you can make standing seam panels in a trim break. You can make a standing seam roof in a trim break. Making the clips is going to be hard. And with my trim break, you can't really make the panels with the right shapes to fit existing clips, so you'd have to make your own. And if you have to make the expansion clips, man, it's going to be a real pain in the butt. It can be done, but it's going to be a lot of work. But long story short, you can buy a sheet metal trim break or two and line them up and make your own standing seam panels. The panels I made were 0.060 aluminum. I used all the rest of my aluminum. I have no more aluminum in case you care about that. In a break that's rated for 0.050, and you could really feel it, like that break was having some real problems. I had to score it. So stay within the break specs. And so in searching for a break, you're going to want a high opening area, like probably over an inch, so that you can fit higher pieces inside of it. You're going to want the depth to be one of those 20 inches or so, just enough to fit your whole panel, the whole metal that prior to forming the width of that metal. And there is a flange that is the jaw of the machine. It clamps down onto your workpiece, and the deeper that flat area that clamps down onto the workpiece is, the harder it's going to be, and the weirder your panel is going to be, the less compatible it's going to be with clips. And these portable trim brakes, they seem to be made out of aluminum, and probably the stronger ones are going to have deeper flat areas. So the stronger ones are actually probably going to be worse. You'll have to look at it. I think mine's like 1.25 inch depth. So 1.25 inch depth is horrible for making panels, but it can be done. But you have to make your own clips in that case. I think the steel trim brake that I saw in some professional manufacturing company's video had a thinner clamp, and with that one, you could probably make great roofing panels that would be compatible with pre-manufactured expansion clip. Also, you can make longer panels than the trim brake that you have. You just have to slowly do each bend and alternate the sides of that roofing panel piece. It's very, very slow, so it's probably better if you buy two, hopefully used, trim brakes that work for your material, and line them up very flatly and connect all the handles with something rigid and then bend it all at once. My time to make a panel was 10 minutes with the stainless, and that included trimming some of it down so that it wasn't, well, it could be folded. 25 inches is just too wide to fit within the depth of the brake, so it wasn't usable. I had to cut it down a little bit. So you could probably get it down to 8 minutes per panel, and probably even less if you were in good practice doing so. So it's really not that bad to make it on your own. And regarding the uncoiler, I really don't recommend that you build one. It's like $2,000 for a pretty good one that already features a brake, and it's well built. And then in order to load the coils, use a crane. So buy a stationary crane with a hoist thing on it, and just lift it up like that, and then drop it into the uncoiler. Way easier, way better. I'm a damn fool for building my own uncoiler. That was so dumb. But it sort of works, and that's that. If you really want the footage, I can upload a video about it someday. Please let me know if you do actually want me to upload that build video, despite my recommendation that you just purchase one. Okay, bye.